Important development at the main entrance. If you know, you know. We'll check in on future expansion locations. More walls are down at Tiana's, and new developments from the Disneyland Railroad. But first, let's go to New Orleans Square and get the latest from the Haunted Mansion. We'll start on the ground at New Orleans Square to catch you guys up first on what's going on with the virtual queue, something that we've been monitoring and watching closely since the attraction first opened. They're selling out a little quicker than they were initially. On this morning when I checked, they were sold out by 10:45 for that first morning distribution. That's pretty quick. Noon distributions are lasting a little bit longer into the afternoon. More guests than we've ever seen since the attraction first opened are appearing in this queue. They're filling it up at a quicker rate. We're running at about 3.5 minutes per group. So just use that as a base. If you've got 100 groups to go, that's about 350 minutes, give or take, depending on what time of day you're getting that. So you should expect to wait somewhere between 4 and 6 hours, is my guess, for your group to be called. But apart from that, the Haunted Mansion is all systems go. Let's move next door, where we can see the gift shop now. You can see the shape that it's going to take. They are building this thing from the ground up. We weren't sure about that at first, but obviously there's your steel, there's your frame. That's the future gift shop, the future exit exit around the gift shop at the Haunted Mansion. It's really tucked into this little space back there quite snugly, I have to say. I have more than a little bit of doubt about how comfortable and normal this is going to feel. It just feels a little bit wedged in right there. You can see there's the exit, the crypt exit. We mentioned this last week. It feels like they've kind of, cramped that a little bit. But however this winds up turning out, I have to say that they are moving on this quicker. One of the reasons why I thought they were going to bring it in pre-built was because they were waiting so long to even get started. But judging by the pace of this construction so far, I don't think that they're too concerned. It should be a simple build. They're going to knock this thing out and have it ready to open probably right around the same time they're opening up the queue, although the queue could still take a little while. So we're not sure where we are on that. We'll be getting on the Mark Twain here in a little bit to see if we can't get any update as far as that goes. But for now, let's go next door to check in on Tiana's. All the scaffolding is down now. I'm not sure if we've mentioned this, but even over the wall, there's no more scaffolding left on the exterior of the mountain. I haven't been able to see any sort of ongoing work, so this is the final form of Tianas Bayou Adventure. Right now, we're just waiting for them to finish the exteriors and what the stuff that they're doing in the rear of the attraction, which there is still construction happening there. As I approach the Hungry Bear Barbecue Jamboree, I'll note that once again, Fresh Baked has been foiled. Last week I was trying to get a look at the menu, which hadn't been changed yet, and they will not not going to let me see it again this week because they have put up some scrim to block what's happening up there at the top of Hungry Bear. So no updates on that. We'll look to the left, and you can see that they are installing, or they have installed, some speakers. They look like old-timey megaphone type speakers, but this is, I'm sure, going to be for the radio broadcast that you're going to be able to hear. That's going to be the music, is a radio broadcast of jazz music that's, relevant to the time period, I'm sure. Those look really cool, and they're in lots of different locations. We can also see the purpose of those hooks. We saw hooks at the top of those posts, and we were wondering what those are for. It's so they could run cable and connecting them and then hanging some lights from those hooks or from the cables. Interesting choice. I was hoping for coverings there. Okay, so we were talking about the way that they set up the entrance to Winnie the Pooh here, and how, I liked how they split this thing into two halves. To the right of the rail is obviously Winnie the Pooh, to the left is Keep Going into Critter Country. There's a grade there. The separation isn't just a spatial differentiation, but there's also a grade. The right half stays level, and the left half kind of slopes down a little bit, and people were suggesting that was the reason why they did that. It's hard for me to say for sure if that's the case. I mean, if we do look along the construction wall side, as we pan left from Winnie the Pooh, you can see that the path is going downhill, but I'm pretty sure it was going downhill before as well. So I don't know. I feel like it could go either way, that they raised that section on the right and let the left side stay downhill. I'm not sure. From here, we can also see whatever that structure is that they're building there at the entrance to Tiana's. That's, obviously where they're going to be checking lightning lanes, etc. I've tried to get as good a look as possible from around the Winnie the Pooh queue as well. Still not sure how that thing is going to wind up being themed, but we can tell that they've moved past the green steel stage and they're starting to apply some sort of, I don't know, look to it. I think it's still too early to tell. We got a ways to go on that. Seeing if we can't peek anything. That's new sheathing up there, so we should expect some sort of new theming being applied to that space there, a new surface there. Here's another look at the entrance from the Winnie the Pooh queue, trying to get a higher, longer view of things, where you can see some of the details, the trim around the windows, and that entrance space. I really like this. I know some people have said that they prefer not to have the yellow and green tint or yellow and green colors, but I think it looks great. I like the fact that it's aged, and I don't know, it looks good to me. Pooh Corner got a sign, such that it's not much of one, but they do have a sign now. That'll be replaced with something a little bit more final, a little bit more finished later on. Lewis's Critter Club is still coming soon. Nothing to see back there. Let's take a look at Tiana's Tunnel. Lots of different phases of this update happening there. You can see that they've closed up the very bottom cylindrical shaped section there, the lowest of the, let's see, what do we got? 1, 2, 3, 4 different levels. You've got the cylindrical shaped level there at the bottom, which it looks like they're closing that up, and they're going to finish that sort of wood log type finish there. They're going to put some kind of wood veneer on there, and then you've got the cobblestone layer on top of that, and on top of that you've got the wooden fence-like layer, and then on top of that is a barn. So they've got a lot of different things, a lot of visual elements there. I'm going to be really fascinated to see how that winds up looking in the end, but there's a lot happening right there, and we still don't know what's going to happen in there. We don't know what's going to happen inside that tunnel. There's Winnie the Pooh making his way out to meet some guests. A delight. It looks like they finished up the roofing on that building there. Some of that scaffolding has been taken off in the backside of the structure as well, which is a good sign. For example, this view of the pumpkin patch up there is completely unbothered now. So we're getting a nice clean look at what's happening there, and it looks delightful. Can't wait to see how that looks in ride as well. Panning to the left, pressure washing, I assume. Not exactly a pressure wash, is it? It could be just a regular rinsing of that chimney, I guess, that stone structure there. So that's the latest from Tiana's. Let's get on the Mark Twain to see what we can see from there. However, the Texas deck has been closed. I could not go to the top deck, so we're just going to have to do the best we can from the middle deck. And I spotted a 10-minute wait. This is Saturday, you guys. Saturday, and it's about maybe 12:30 in the afternoon. That's how hot it is in Orange County right now. People are just like, maybe next time. 10-minute wait on Pirates on a Saturday. By the way, that means we're not going to get a very good view over the construction walls in New Orleans Square. We'll do our best. I mean, things haven't been that visible anyway, because they've done a very good job of obscuring things for the most part. That tree is doing most of that work. Let's see if we can't move forward. There's a look into the Disneyland Railroad station. Too low to see anything happening on the ground there. Last week, though, we could see, there it is. There's the steps, I think, right there. We're not going to get to see them this week. Steps have been built leading up into the queue space. There's the new queue. You can see all those brick columns have been erected to create the boundary, the perimeter of the inner portion of that queue. There's still more to be built there. Some of that wrought iron work. We'll pan to the right, and I don't expect to see much here, although I really want to see what's happening way in the back. It looks like through the trees we can see a little bit that they are starting to finish that back, the section that is up against the dirt, the berm. That white layer, that's new. I don't recall seeing that there before. And that's as good as it's going to get this week. Stay tuned next week for the Mark Twain to see if we can't get on that Texas deck. But here's a really cool, positive development. The construction walls have been removed at the turnaround here at the bottom of the drop for Tiana's. So they haven't opened up yet the secret path that's still behind construction wall and scrim there. You can see but at least we can see everything here and now. So if when a boat does go by or a log does go by, we can see it more clearly. Same problem this week that we have from the Mark Twain. We're just too low, but it does give us a look at, again, the theming that's being applied to that stretch down there by the Breuer patch. Another week with the construction walls and scrimmed down. And Hungry Bear suggests that they're finished with whatever it is that they were doing in terms of dressing the dining location. So that is done. They're just waiting, I think, now for back of house, for the kitchen, etc., to come back and be ready for a barbecue. I thought I was done with the Mark Twain, but then before I could put the camera away, I noticed scrim is up on the section of track that runs along the rivers of America. That is not supposed to be there. That's what I said to myself when I saw this. I said, that's not supposed to be there. They're not supposed to be working on this section of the track. The update, the track replacement section was supposed to be from Toontown, right about when you go through the tunnel. I think from the tunnel through to the next tunnel, to the diorama. That is the stretch of track that they're supposed to be updating. In fact, it wasn't even supposed to be that. It was just supposed to be up to the Tomorrowland station. But they have decided to get a little more aggressive with the update because they're trying to avoid having to do any sort of closures for the Disneyland Railroad for 2025. They don't want the train to be closed for the 70th. They were supposed to do this in 4 segments, a quarter of the track once, each year, once a year, a 3-month closure for each section. So 3 months this year, 3 months the next year, so on and so forth. But upon reflection, they realized we don't want to close the Disneyland Railroad for 3 months in the middle of the 70th anniversary. Thank you for that, by the way, Disney. That is a very considerate observation, because the Disneyland Railroad is closely tied to the history of the park. And you just don't want to have that. It's going to be a year-long celebration. So what they're trying to do is add a section of the refurb, of the update, to the 2024 segment, so that they can skip 25 and then pick up at their regular pace and do another section in 2026 and then the final section in 2027. That, I'm pretty sure, was not supposed to be there. They're not supposed to be working on that part of the track yet. They're supposed to be working on Toontown to Tomorrowland, and then Tomorrowland got pushed forward into the diorama up to Main Street Station. They were not supposed to be working on the Rivers of America section. But I'm wondering if, well, you know what? I'm going to go check the cast number, see if I can figure some stuff out. That is different. So that's just what I did. I went to Fantasyland Theater, the next segment of the track that is being worked on right now, to see what I can find out there. By the way, we found a nice little nook here. This is at the station. We can see down the track, they have ripped up all that track. So this is still well underway. We've got a ways to go before this will be done, but you can see there is no track there. And if we get our camera through this little slice, come on, there's supposed to be track right there too. This look is actually the loading area right now that I'm trying to get focused. Right there. There should be track right there. That's the loading area. The train is stopped at this point on the track as they load guests on and off the train. And while we were here, we were able to get confirmation of what's happening over there at Rivers of America. It is not track replacement, so that's good. I mean, they have gotten a little more aggressive with how much track they're doing, but they're not going all the way back that far. What's happening there at the river is unrelated to the track replacement. Just some updates, they're replacing some of the wood features there, and but it is not track related or not track replacement. While I was there, I noticed that they took the construction walls down at the Fantasyland Theater. Guests could not go into this area before, but they can today. I suspect that they did this because it's just so dang hot, and people need a break, and this is a great place to just rest and get some cover from the sun. Even though this place is not ready for show, it is not prime time ready. I feel like Disney felt like it was in their, the guest's best interest to give them a little cover, a little place to get out of the sun. So, if you get hot and exhausted during this heat wave, get yourself something cold to drink, go to the Fantasyland Theater and just sit on one of these theater style benches and relax for a bit. and then we can still wait for them to finish striking this set, which is, they're getting there. It's kind of weathered down there. You can see that they need to finish that show space down there, the floor space. But just a few more things to go there, and then it's going to be empty, unused. Still no show on the schedule for the Fantasyland Theater. I have heard nothing positive in that regard. Okay, let's segue next to Space Mountain. Don't know if you guys caught our opening day coverage of this, but Space Mountain has reopened. They did, in fact, replace the blue lights. That's the leading story here. The blue lights are back on at Space Mountain. I rope dropped it the other morning, and we covered the entire queue. And the lights look pretty good, depending on your perspective, better or worse than the old ones. I'm not sure how everybody feels about, their feelings about the old lights. But they mixed in some more whites. The flashing is a little bit more stroby. It's not as solid an effect. The blue lights before were just like almost a single wall of lights, where these are blinking on and off, some white, some blue. It's a little bit more trippy, possibly a little bit more like maybe flying through space and seeing stars go by, like a hyperspace type effect. They've also updated the strobing, the lights as you transition from the first part of the launch into the uphill part before you get to the blue lights. That has been amplified and changed a bit, which looks really cool. The queue itself, it's a little brighter in the room. That large interior space, it's a little bit brighter than it was before. Before it was sort of like a moody purple green kind of thing, but this one is much more exposed. The lighting arrangement here is much more exposed. You can see all of this in the video that we put out yesterday on this on Friday. Looks pretty good. So I was exceedingly happy to have this attraction back. I was exceedingly happy to have the lights back. It's a key component of the Space Mountain experience, in my opinion. It's one of the best parts of that attraction. And if you feel that way, if this has inspired you guys, I've been getting this on social. People have been inspired to go look at Disneyland again because of the Space Mountain effect. Do be sure to consider using GetAwayToday. It's a very ham-fisted segue. Use our affiliate GetAwayToday. We are big fans of their service. They help you plan your Disneyland vacations, Disney World for that matter, Universal if you're into that. If you're planning a trip to a theme park, please do consider using GetAwayToday. Use the link in our description. That way they know that we sent you, and that's good for us and it's good for you. And you'll be taken care of. These are some of the nicest people in the business. So GetAwayToday to plan your next trip. With that, let's head over to DCA for our next update from the Pixar Pal Around. We're going to get ourselves a non-swinging gondola and find out what we can see from here, just to kind of put our eyes on some of the future expansion sites. This here is the site that we believe they're going to build the Coco water ride, the dark ride. We believe this section right behind that, the Pixar Promenade, on the other side of the Pixar Promenade area there is, and on the other side of those tracks behind that are those three buildings back there. All of that is subject to demo, and they're going to build a Coco water ride, a dark ride back there. Construction is supposed to begin in 2026 on that. So I'm going to be here every week until it starts. I am just kidding. We can also look for, so this is where most of the action is going to be starting in terms of future expansions. That's the backside of Avengers Campus. There you can see the Quinjet up there. On the other side of that Quinjet, behind the Mission Breakout, is where they're going to be building Avengers Infinity Defense and that other ride that I can't remember the name of, Stark's testing lab thing. So all that space back there, I don't know what's subject to demo. Possibly those green buildings in the back, those barns. Not this building here in front of Luigi's. That building, they just built that. They built that during COVID. So that, I think, that was always built with the understanding that it was going to mix in with the rest of what they're doing with Avengers Campus. So I don't expect that to get demoed, but everything else is up for grabs. And we should be seeing the first signs of Earth moving here 2025. And then we got one more look at what's going on there. You look down there. Okay, so there's the Pixar Promenade right there. Go under the tracks, go past the Incredicoaster, and there it is. There's the future site. They'll just build a little tunnel or whatever to take guests back there. And look for that, I think, in 2026. Look for construction to begin in 2026. And while we're up here, let's take a peek over at the Simba lot, because this is where we're going to be getting our construction views of that as well. That's what I believe to be the future home of Avatar. Someday, I believe Avatar will go there. One thing I noticed is that there's some staging there. I believe I saw that a while back, but I'm curious if anybody could tell me what they're staging for, what that's for. I don't think it's related to the future expansions, because I think that's been there for a little while. But if anybody could tell me what they're staging there for, I'd love to hear that. Okay, while we're here, let's check in on Cars Land, where we saw some construction at the Cozy Cones Motel. They still got that wonderfully convincing coverage there, that camouflage for the construction walls that are on the opposite side of the Cozy Cone Motel office space. That they've really fooled us all. There's the construction walls that really make navigating that backside of the Cozy Cones difficult. Pardon our cone structure. I mean, that's pretty good. I got to give him that one. I got to give him that one. Okay, and over here on the other side of the cones, we saw these last couple of weeks, these walls up on this stretch. This is that stretch that runs parallel to Luigi's Rollicking Roadsters. To the left there was just landscaping and a single sign for Stark Automotive. Nothing much going on there. It wasn't anything before, so I'm really curious what they could possibly be doing here, because it's not show. I don't think this is show, so what are they doing? What are they doing here? This is perhaps one of the most fascinating construction projects that I've ever seen, simply because it's a nothing space. It's not big enough to be anything. It wasn't anything before, and it can't be anything when they're done other than what it was, basically, and that's landscaping. Trying to see if I can get the camera to focus, which is very difficult. But it has definitely been dug up. It's definitely not what it used to be. There is no landscaping. It's all dirt. And that's a little trench, as a matter of fact, that they have constructed there. I'm sure that's for irrigation or something like that, possibly electrical conduit, but that's all that is. I'm not, again, I don't expect there to be. What could it be? I don't know. This is on the far left side. I am fascinated by this. I am utterly and completely fascinated, and I hope I get to see something soon, because I know it's not going to be anything, but I'm still very curious what it could be. Before we go, red car trolley. We did a whole video on this about the future of the red car trolley, which is pretty bleak. But I just wanted to update you guys, for those who decided to skip that video, or who maybe just, you only watch the construction videos. The red car trolley has no future. It's going to be closed. It's going to close the red car trolley beginning of next year so they can begin working on that, the Avengers Infinity Defense back there behind Mission Breakout. I will say real quick, it is the Avengers Infinity Defense is not killing the red car. It is the crap nature of the Hollywood backlot that is killing the red car. If the Hollywood backlot was a better land, they probably wouldn't be forced to make this move. But it's because the Hollywood backlot needs to be replaced. That's what's killing the red car. What's killing the red car is Disney's desire to no longer be in the 1920s Hollywood business. They want to be in some other kind of business. And before we finish that conversation, before we leave DCA, I've been asking in our State of DCA reports, why are the fountains off all the time? And I think we have solved it. I mentioned this, I believe, in a previous video. I think we have solved it because they moved the Five and Dime show up onto this stage. On the days where the Five and Dime are playing, they turn the fountain off all day. It's off all day. But when the Five and Dime are not here, they take down the stage, the microphones and all that, all the electrical, and they turn the fountain on. So that's interesting, because I feel like it's an overreaction. Look how beautiful this fountain is, you guys. This is everything. This is the image. This is the main image of DCA, of Buena Vista Street. And without the water, it's not the same. And they're killing the best visual feature of this space so they can put up the Five and Dime stage, which I love the Five and Dime, but there's got to be some other reason, some other thing that they can do here. Do you guys remember, it wasn't always this way. They used to have, the Five and Dime used to play out here in the street. Why can't we do that anymore? Why can't they put the car out here and have the band play out here in the middle of the street? It was much more kinetic. It had a lot more energy. It was a lot more fun. Guests got involved. They stopped and watched. It was much less of a pass-through experience than it is now. I don't know why they can't do this anymore. It really is it's just Disney hates live entertainment, man. And they can't do it right. They can't do it justice. This should be a different way. And just like any other live entertainment thing, I'm going to say my piece because I am not a fan of this thing. And now it's costing us the Carthay Fountain, I think. I'm assuming because the data there suggests when the band plays, the water's off. Oh, we do have one more stop. I did stop at Paradise Gardens. You may have heard us report in the past that they've closed this section of Paradise Gardens because they're going to be building a net. They're going to put a net up there on the top part by Goofy Sky School, on the top level of Goofy Sky School, so the guests who lose their phones and their hats or whatever they get thrown from the vehicle don't land on the guests down there in Paradise Garden, which I imagine is a problem. But still, no sign of a net. I have not seen any kind of a net, so I don't know what the time frame is there. We'll go next to Downtown Disney. Last week we updated you on Marceline's, which is becoming the Wonderful World of Sweets. They have since that announcement put up this scrim and scaffold, which suggests they're going to start working on that facade, because that facade that we saw in the concept art looks very different than the one that is in place today for Marceline. So that's what I'm assuming is going to be happening here, is they're going to start putting up that super fun Willy Wonka style facade out there, and look for that in the winter of 2024. No work being done as of yet at Tortilla Joe's. It could be a while before we see demo there. There's Parkside Market as it's joined up against the monorail tracks. The monorail is still closed, as you know, but it's reopening soon. It looks like whatever they were doing, they finished on that side of it thing, so we can probably expect the monorail to be on time for September 12th. Looks like they've got some walls, the beginnings of some walls being built there at Parkside, plus the roof elements. You can see, if we zoom in a little bit, you can see some of those roof elements being constructed there as well. So we can start to see the shape of things for that rooftop bar there that's coming out, where it's an outdoor rooftop bar where guests can kind of watch the entertainment happen down below. We also reported last week that we have now heard of Avengers Reserve. That's the new gift shop coming down here to Downtown Disney, and D-Landers to its right as we face it. I thought maybe they'd be pretty close to this opening up, considering we've got concept art and everything and they're ready. But I looked over the walls a little bit and I could see that the steel studs are still visible. So they haven't even put up the drywall yet. Yeah, there you go. No drywall, no nothing back there. So they still have got a ways to go, I guess, to making these retail locations ready for guests. We've been talking about the bag check areas down here in Downtown Disney. This is the one next to Din Tai Fung, which they went through a lot of trouble to give it that mid-century modern look. The bag check now between ESPN Zone and Din Tai is now open and done, and as suspected, it's not as much as that. It's not a mid-century modern look at all. It's just a basic tent. I mean, it's a little bit more finished looking, a little bit more appealing than the old, very not good looking tents that they had there before, much like the ones that they have over there at the Downtown Disney side. But it's certainly not a mid-century modern theme. And I don't know if this is intentional or did they run out of budget or what, because I feel like they had bigger plans. Look how wide open this looks, though. I don't remember it ever looking that wide open before. So there's that. We'll stay tuned for that story to see if maybe they can put some more money into that eventually. As I mentioned, the monorail is still closed. It's scheduled to reopen on the 12th. So normally this would be where I'd get on the monorail and go back to the park, but now I have to walk in 106 degrees. On the way back, I found that they're still working on the Indiana Jones building back here. Although I don't know where they are, because I'm not sure what they're trying to get to. I don't know what the finished product is supposed to look like. If it's supposed to be go away green or whatever it is that's through that scaffolding. I feel like that's the before, right? That was the before look. And the simple green is the after, I think. Still waiting for that. Let's get back into the park. And first, on the way in, I found these construction walls and scrims up at this is where you rent your roller coaster or your stroller rental. I don't think I've ever seen walls and scrim up at this location in all the years that I've been covering Disney. I don't think that I've ever seen construction walls and scrim at the stroller shop. Interesting. That's just to the right of the entrance where we are still dealing with these construction walls. Actually, this is a new wall. This is a new stretch of wall that they've built here or put up. This is on the far right side. This is not a gate that's being covered. It's more one of those little office type ends, just like the one they did over here on the left. Same type of wall as that, not at all covering a gate. The one on the middle that was covering a gate, those walls have been removed for the most part, except for these walls here around that tree. So guests have a much more unfettered access to these front gates. And so everything that we're seeing down here should be new brickwork, new concrete down here, new surface. Although that doesn't look particularly new, but I suppose I don't want it to, otherwise it would really stick out. But because they had dug this up, this was completely dug up before. And so that's the new brick. And that is gates 19, 20, 21, etc. And I mention those gates because one thing that I've observed is that tree, if you're familiar with the tree trick, I don't know if I can get into it completely here, but that tree used to be sort of a hack to get a shorter line to the gates. This tree right here, that's another example of the old tree trick. This one wasn't quite as good as the other one, but you can see how close this planter is with this tree, how close it was to the front or to the gates there. And so it inhibited the growth of a lane, a queue popping out of that gate. That's how that tree, if we were to extend that tree right across, it would have been right about where the stroller is there in frame in terms of the distance from the gate. So they definitely have moved that tree back, which nerfs the tree trick a little bit. I will note also that this tree has been replaced as well. And now, by the way, I said replaced because that's not the same tree that was there before. That tree is the new tree. Just like the tree that was there before looked just like this one here. So they brought trees back, but not the same tree. And as I understand it, they're also not going to be bringing them back in a large planter like you see, like this tree, which hasn't been removed yet, but will be. That's going to be the next iteration. They're going to put up construction walls around this one as well. When these walls come down, you will not see a planter around that tree. It'll be planterless. And what you're going to get is more like something that they have at DCA. See that? There's no planter. It's just the grate where they have the soil underneath that, but no planter. Where at DCA, as you pass through the gates, you see these trees. They're right there in front of the gates, but they don't take up as much space as the other ones do. I assume that's why they're doing that. They want this to be a little bit more easily passed through by guests. We'll go back to the Disneyland because we want to say happy anniversary to Tiana's Palace. It has now been open for a year, and they're celebrating with this little New Orleans Times newspaper article, which I think is delightful. And they are, proud of the fact that they've been open. This place still makes me happy. I love going inside Tiana's Palace. I love the cast here, and the food is great. And you can even get a new type of beignet here during the holidays. So that's fun. Happy anniversary to Tiana's Palace. By the way, when I was here, I also noted those construction walls at the back are still... I wonder, if you look at the concept art, they flipped the stage. And I'm wondering if that's still going to be the case, where the stage is going to face Haunted Mansion instead of facing Tiana's Palace. All right, so that's all the construction updates. I want to talk next and last about what's on the refurb calendar. Great Moments with Mr. Lincoln has been closed for quite a while. There still is no opening date for the reopening of the Lincoln show and for the reveal, the debut of the Walt Disney animatronic. As mentioned, the Disneyland Railroad is still closed, and we also do not yet have a reopening date. My expectation is probably the end of October. Hopefully at least in time for the holiday season. The monorail is closed, but by the time we do our next report, it will be open again, which is great because we're going to get some good views of a lot of different things, hopefully. The monorail is scheduled to reopen on September 13th. That's this coming Friday. Tom Sawyer Island is going down for a 3-day closure, closing on September 16th through the 18th, reopening on the 19th. The Columbia is going through a 4-day closure, closing on September 23rd through September 26th, reopening on the 27th. Small World is closing on September 16th. There is no update. There is no reopening date on the calendar. Presumably that is because it is reopening just for the holiday season. So my guess is Small World will be down for about 2 months, reopening on the first day of the holiday season, November 15th. And then finally, the Jungle Cruise is closing on September 16th. That'll be closed through October 3rd. That's about, almost 3 weeks. And we're hoping that they are going to come out with a finished and improved tiger scene there on Jungle Cruise. And that is our construction report for this week, Fresh Baked. I do hope you enjoyed. I do hope you learned something today. Thank you guys very much for watching. If you like this show and want to show your support, please do consider joining our Patreon campaign at patreon.com/freshbaked. Then follow us on Instagram at _freshbaked, on Twitter at freshbakedisney, that's fresh with no E, and on TikTok at freshbakedisney. Otherwise, thanks again for watching, everybody. We love you. Be safe out there. Be kind to one another. And fresh baked.